Presented by various leaders within the healthcare community and industrial community there, and they had a positive attitude. And the people with, I'll use the word prisoners, within this open-air prison, it was really amazing that they walked around with their head high, and there was a camaraderie and a social structure within Gaza. There's a couple of very large refugee camps within Gaza. But even so, people seemed to wake up each morning and do what had to be done. So that was very hopeful, and the fact that something may improve in the future.
As someone who went to Gaza coming from the Jewish faith tradition, I imagine that might have raised some security concerns to some level, but I'm wondering what you learned that helped you better understand Israel's position in this conflict.
We didn't spend the entire time in Gaza, and I knew people who had moved to Israel from Tampa, and a physician in particular, and I spent time with him and his wife and his daughter, who is in her 30s and who has a PhD in Arab studies from Harvard and from universities within Israel, and in fact lived with the Palestinians within Israel and in their cities, and they're very well aware of the culture. There is no one over there without blame. I'm thinking about it, the way Israel has reacted to the constant shelling of Israel by the Gazans. As ineffective and inefficient as it was, it still causes severe psychological concern and at times kills and maims people. But their reaction was one that reminded me of child abuse. When a child misbehaves or a teenager misbehaves even, the reaction of a parent is such that it's just an overreaction and doesn't enable the child to really understand how to have good relationships. Now, part of this is because the leadership of Hamas and Fatah, even within Gaza, and we visited the Islamic University, and they made a big deal about how Israel bombed their laboratory science buildings, 2 of them, and destroyed all this equipment. But what they didn't share with us, and other Palestinians told us, is that between the Fatah University and this Islamic University, they themselves were burning each other's buildings. So the disruptive behavior among the various groups makes for a very unhealthy relationship situation. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but it's, to me, somebody's going to have to learn how to have effective relationships and just start over. I don't know how that can happen, but the various agendas the leaders have.
In the current news, there's a lot of controversy, at least in the United States, around the Goldstone report. I'm wondering if you or your group found evidence that supported the findings of the Goldstone report while you were in Gaza.
Some of the members of my group are passionate, to say the least, about the Goldstone report and supporting it. And one of the members of our group is a card-carrying member of the International Solidarity Movement, which is a Free Palestine movement. And this person has, in the past, traveled to Greece and Crete and snuck boats into Gaza with supplies and things. And this particular person ran into the problem of when they got into Gaza through the waterway, they weren't able to get out of Gaza. And actually had the congressperson had to get them out because Israel wasn't about to let them out. in any event, the group was quite passionate about the Goldstone report. My issue with the Goldstone report is not with the report itself. My issue with the Goldstone report is that Israel didn't take part in it. There's a knee-jerk reaction against the initial investigation. There's a knee-jerk reaction against the UN. I'm not saying that Israel doesn't have right to be paranoid about the UN, but in terms of Goldstone, who, by the way, is a Zionist, and a Jew, is on the board of Hebrew University, as far as I know, and Hebrew Union University, there is and when Netanyahu went in front of the UN and said we were just defending ourselves, I don't think anybody buys that. Anybody who's rational in the world. And certainly if you have an agenda, an anti-Israeli agenda, it's just going to make you even more incensed.
As a member of Global Healing, are there lessons that you've learned on what might bring more peace, justice, and sustainability to this region of the world, to this particular situation?
Well, I have a philosophy, and it's not original with me, that the one with less to lose is always in control. And while Israel is in total control of taking things away from the Gazans, and they're basically in a ghetto and a prison, and I spent time on the West Bank as well, and there are issues over there, but not as severe. Basically the same issues, but not as severe as in Gaza. Israel's going to keep taking things away and away from the Palestinians. And I'm talking about the Palestinians in the West Bank and the Palestinians in Gaza. Palestinians who live in Israel, while there's some issue about whether or not they can join the army, they're not encouraged, there's some issue there, but whatever, I think they're treated differently. So to me it's an issue of relationships and effective behavior. And Israel's going to take these people that nobody seems to care about. The Arabs don't stick up for them. Just nobody is their friend. So the lesson is that we're going to see a mass tragedy, or we're going to see a horrible uprising with the Arabs coming together against Israel because of this whole situation.
Are there any other thoughts or ideas you'd like to add? Really, it's been a pleasure having you give a chance to tell this story. Your courage and dedication is a model for the rest of us in the Global Healing Initiative to look at. What are some final thoughts or ideas you'd like to share?
I think people need to see what's going on over there firsthand, and don't get your opinions necessarily from the newspaper. You can talk to both sides. And when I talk, and that's more than both sides: Fatah, Hamas, and Israel. And there's those three factions at a minimum. And within Israel, there's different factions. Certainly, there are people who are against such behavior, people who are for such behavior, and there are extremism on all sides. And there are people on the others, also within each of the parties, who just want to get along. So my recommendation is for people to try to keep an open mind, try to understand that nobody has clean hands over there, that Israel, with its overreaction at this time, is creating an unsustainable situation for itself. And the leadership within Israel is going to have to change its behavior, but somehow Fatah and Hamas are going to have to work together, because they can't even get together on how to spend the money that's put into the Palestinian hands. And it goes particularly to Fatah. They won't give it up easily without Hamas making great give up a lot to get that money, and it's just a very untenable situation. And if Iran, when Iran gets nuclear weapons, Israel has nuclear weapons, it's not going to be healthy for anybody in the world.
Thank you, Don, for sharing. Not everyone will have a chance to see Gaza in person, but the opportunity to listen to you and your viewpoints is certainly an opportunity for different perspectives and different thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.